All right, this is going to be a video going over my Vim, Python, Jupyter terminal type of workflow for kind of hacking together data science Python type scripts with Vim. And so I'm using a Mac, and so to get started, these are the different things I'm going to go over: the terminal, how you can configure Ipython, Jupyter Lab, and some Mac specific tips. So first, though, I'm using iTerm 2, which you can, I believe, install with brew. But anyway, if you don't have iTerm 2, you can use Terminator on Linux or Windows Terminal on Windows and achieve a similar level of configurability where you can achieve essentially the same thing that I'm doing here. And so, yeah, you can install iTerm 2 with brew if you have that. And so it's a cask, so the syntax would be like, think like that, or brew cat, something like either brew install cask or brew cask install. And so the first thing I want to show is that it's nice to be able to split windows when you're working in a terminal, so kind of like tmux. And so I have it, or I guess the default iTerm configuration is for this Shift Command D to do this split, this vertical split like this, and then Command D will do this horizontal split. And so you can, get as many as you want. Which obviously, you don't always want to have infinite number of terminals, but it's nice to be able to split them and, have a workflow that's split between two windows. And so the first thing I want to point out is that the directory, this directory that I'm in right here is, it's not like my home directory. So I'm in this ANOVA directory. And so I wanted to show, like when I split this window, this new terminal is in the same directory. And so the setting to achieve that is if you go to Preferences, Profiles, Working Directory, Advanced Configuration, and then Working Directory for new split panes, reuse previous sessions directory. So if this isn't, or if you, for instance, if you switch it to home directory, then whenever you split a window, it's just going to go to your home, and you'll have to navigate down to where you were. So it's very convenient to have that setting on your preferences. So let me switch that back. So that's where you can, it saves you a lot of time if you're searching for a script and you find it and then you say, okay, let me look at this. And when you split the terminal, it's immediately in that same directory. So you're ready to launch an instance of Ipython or something. So the next thing I wanted to go over is how you can use Vim bindings to focus these windows. So like, for instance, when I split windows like this, I can use K to go to Control K to focus upwards, and J to go down, and H to go left and right. So you see I have Vim bindings with the Control key modifier to switch through these windows. And so in iTerm, you can go to Preferences, Keys, and so here you can just, like select pane to the left, you give it whatever keystroke you want. So I want HJKL, so this is going to be the same motion controls as Vim's default. So for instance, if you wanted to change this to something else, you can just double click it, and I obviously want it to stay as Control H, so when it'll let you record, and so you just press the keystroke and you're good to go. And so you can just do HKL for these, and then you now have the ability to use Vim bindings to switch between your terminal windows. And so that's obviously a nice little feature. And so the next thing I want to show is that you can set your terminal to use Vim bindings. So like, for instance, right here, I have my terminal set up to work like this. And so when you're in normal mode in a terminal and you press K, as though if you were in a script, you would scroll up, it goes up through your history. So you can see, you can scroll up and down through your history with J and K, and you can say, and you can, you can move around in your commands with regular Vim bindings. So like B to go back, W to go forward a word, and then Control D or capital D to erase a whole line. And so if you're trying to get into using Vim, it's really nice to be able to use it on your terminal. And so this just takes the command. So what you need is to have this line in your ZSHRC or bashrc, whatever. So you can do something like, you can do that, and it'll add that line to the end of your bashrc. But I have it in, let's see. So in my ZSHRC, it's just, right here. Sorry, there's a bunch of stuff now, but so I just have it set-ovi. And so, if you're working on a server or, some type of remote system that has Linux, and you're as a user, you have your own bashrc, you can just add that line, and then your terminal immediately has the ability to use Vim bindings for motion, which is very, very convenient. So the next thing I want to go over is getting an Ipython configuration that's convenient to use. And so to be clear, I find Ipython to be like a much more useful. It's essentially an interactive shell, as opposed to just like, for instance, if you just type Python, you get an instance where you can, you can do arithmetic, and you can do any operation. But Ipython is just much more fully featured, and it actually works as a full terminal. Like you can ls, cd, you can use a lot of shell commands, and even you can escape and use native bash commands with exclamation points. So I'll show you how I have this set up so that you can have Vim bindings in Ipython as well, so that essentially your whole workflow, you'll just be able to use Vim bindings for everything. So these over here are some of the suggested flags that I have when you launch Ipython. So first off, this is just like my base Ipython, but if you're using a virtual environment or some type of Anaconda environment, whenever you just call Ipython arbitrarily, you can specify what path you want that Ipython to execute. So for instance, I'll show you what these different flags do. So if you just click Ipython, it shows you this little banner. So the first one is Ipython no banner, and so it launches without that. And so that's a pretty simple, it doesn't really make much of a difference, but I just like that. And so the next is to get the Vim mode in Ipython. So that's this command. So now you see over here on the left, I have navigation and insert mode. So you can do you have again, like I was showing with the regular terminal, you can see that now when I use K, I'm scrolling backwards up through my history of commands. So you can use K, and then you can also hit, for instance, O to insert line below. So you can do, something, So, you can just essentially compose commands like that. And it's really nice to have Vim bindings in here as well. So that's this command here, this terminal interactive shell dot editing mode equal VI. And so the next one is, so this adds, this is a difficult lesson to learn. So if you don't add this this command right here, it's just a pain when you're for instance writing a function in another script that you're loading into Ipython, because it doesn't, for instance, it won't reload what that script is every time you run it. And so it'll load one version, and then if you change the way that the function works, it doesn't automatically reload it unless you have this command in here. And so it's more of a subtle thing to illustrate, but that's an annoying lesson to learn, that it doesn't automatically reload functions like that. And so the next is so this interactive shell app.execute lines. What this does is what it sounds like. So this will execute whatever lines you put in between these inside of this string list. So we'll get auto reload 2, and then you can have, for instance, any like single line commands that you want. So for instance, I almost always will have numpy as MP, and matplotlib. So that means that whenever I run this, now MP is loaded as so MP is known. And so if you don't have that line, then numpy, for instance, won't be automatically loaded. So if I try to run that again without, you see, I took that command away. So now it doesn't know what MP is. So what I'm showing you is that you can essentially build up this command and make an alias for it, and then you'll have just your, what I have it as is ipy. So this is essentially what happens when I execute it. So it's just these commands that I'm building up for you. And so those are those are basically a lot of the convenient little things that I was going to show you. And so just so that you know, whenever you have matplotlib as one of those, so here I have import matplotlib as PLT. So whenever you do that, it defocuses the window. So you see, you have to use, for instance, Command Tab to refocus it onto this, which, it's a small little, kind of annoying little thing, but it's worth it to already have matplotlib loaded in. So now this is kind of like what I like to have as a base Ipython. So you can do just hacking together stuff really fast and just composing all the commands using Vim bindings, and you already have numpy matplotlib. If you use pandas a lot, you can add the line. So there's no limit to what you can add here. Obviously, if you make this really, really extensive, it will take longer to load up, but that's basically how I like to have Ipython configured. And so now, just to kind of show you, so I'm in this directory, and so my workflow, normally, I don't obviously compose a script in Ipython. I use it to execute scripts and examine the variables. So I have this test, I just have this kind of random script in here. And so I'll show you, like, I'll start this new instance of Ipython. And so you can just do, see where you are. Okay, this is the Innova directory. Now my little keycaster is blocking this, so I'll move this. So test1.py. So you can just do run. And so you can use a tab autocomplete in here. It is case sensitive in Ipython, but it's pretty nice though. And so you can just run this, and then you can see what your variables are. Whatever you want to do. So that's normally like kind of how my workflow is with this. So I'll have a script that I'm working on, and then I execute it and examine the variables in an Ipython shell. So the next thing I wanted to show you is the Jupyter. You can have essentially a Jupyter mode a Vim mode in Jupyter Lab. So this is just my base Anaconda, and so you can install this module with pip install Jupyter Lab -vim. So make sure that you have your environment selected correctly. But so you can essentially, what this does is now in this browser, or whatever, this instance of Jupyter Lab, you now have Vim bindings in a single cell. So for instance, right now I'm in normal mode, so insert, so we would need and so obviously you can hit Shift Enter to execute these, and then so similarly you can do that, executing scripts and editing them with Vim. But if you use this Jupyter Lab -vim module, you get so for one, you can navigate between cells with you can see J and K. You can scroll up with J and K, so you never have to use the mouse here. But you can also, when you're in normal mode, you can do, you can quit like that, like you would normally like quit editing a script. And now you're in kind of like a cell Vim mode. So you can use J and K to move around cells, and you can use O and capital O to insert new cells above and below. So I call this like the meta Vim mode. So you can navigate to a specific cell and then, add stuff, or change it to markdown mode, and it's just a really convenient way to have your entire workflow using Vim. So a couple little bonuses. These are, I guess, specifically for Mac, but you can use Command and Tab to focus windows. So like, for instance, if you execute a script that that generates a figure, you can you can close that script and then create a new instance, or refocus the window to your terminal. And that Command plus Tab is just a default command on Mac. And so the next one is maybe the best tip anyone can give you if you're trying to get a dope Vim workflow. And so this is to map your caps lock key to escape. So obviously if you're a Vim user, you know that when you're in insert mode, you have to hit escape or Control H or something else to get out of Vim, or to get out of insert mode and go into normal mode. So the escape key is a little bit further to reach than the caps lock, and so I think Luke Smith is the person who mentioned to do this, and he's got a lot of the best material out there on Vim and LaTeX and all those things, but he suggests to do this. And so the way you can achieve this on Mac from going to System Preferences, Keyboard, and here you go inside the keyboard tab to modifier keys and just change caps lock to escape. And so this, it just makes it to where when you hit, so I'm hitting caps lock here, but you can see that this is hitting escape. And so it just is a much more convenient key to use when you're using Vim. And so this is a general thing. And so you can use this you can use auto hotkey in Windows to achieve a similar thing. You have to have a little script that you run, but it's totally worth it. And then you can use xmod map on Linux. There's a little command you can add to your bashrc or zshrc that will do a similar thing. And last, if you run something that if you execute, for instance, when you pop up a window like this, you can use a keystroke so on Mac, Command W will close that window. And so now you're floating. You're not in this terminal right here. And so then you can use Command T to switch back. So this is the whole, you can, spawn your new window, close it with the Command W keystroke, then Command Tab will focus you back onto your terminal. So that's a nice little thing that you can do, so you don't have to use your mouse to come up here and close this window every time and refocus your cursor onto your terminal. So I think those are the main tips. This workflow, this is for kind of just hacking, not for really huge code bases. You may want to use something like C tags, or there's a few other tools that you can use to kind of query a code base. So I haven't gone over those things, but this is just for a hacker Vim type of workflow.